So Google has said that they will be removing their link disavow tool. Or did they really? We'll get to the bottom of that. Also, we'll be talking about if you should be using the disavow tool in the first place, and we'll be talking about the dreaded k.html backlinks that have been going around, kind of this nasty spam attack, and what you should be doing, if anything, about those. All right, let's go. So first of all, let's check out this article on Search Engine Roundtable by Barry Schwartz over here, who actually seems like a nice guy. I talked to him on Twitter. And this seems to be the article that kind of started all this controversy. Basically, you can see the title here, Google will remove its disavow link tool at some point. And to make matters worse, when you share this article on Twitter, it only says Google will remove its disavow link tool. It kind of cuts off the part that says at some point. But if you actually go to the article and you scroll down here to see what John actually said, and he just says at some point, I'm sure we will remove it. Which to me just sounds like he's kind of thinking about it. They don't have any plans in place, and pretty far off from the headline of the article, which is Google will remove its disavow link tool. But of course, on Twitter, there was a bunch of fallout over this. I ended up commenting on one post. That's just the article headline, which is a misrepresentation of what John actually said. Gotta drive click somehow. They do this all the time. You can see the full thing here. And then things got really awkward because John actually replied to me saying, yeah, sometimes headlines are more clickbait, drives engagement, I guess. Read the source and understand the context. Many things will go away at some point. That doesn't mean you have to plan for that today. So John basically confirming here that the article definitely makes it seem like it's more of a sure thing than it actually is, and it's not something we need to worry about, at least for now. And then Barry came into the thread and was not very happy that his article was being called clickbait, of course. And so I issued a little apology saying I need to be more diplomatic on Twitter because I didn't expect all of these people to end up seeing the thread and replying to it. But in my defense, I'm new to Twitter. I'm not used to how these things can kind of escalate over there. So if you're on Twitter, go ahead and give me a follow because I'm just getting started kind of posting and getting involved with the SEO community there. So just to reiterate, Google is not removing their disavow tool at this point. You don't need to worry about it quite yet. And if you're an SEO or a marketer in general, I think you should be reading things past just the headline. Like you're a marketer, you know how this kind of stuff works. Barry says he didn't do it intentionally, but it definitely seems a bit strong for me. But still love you, Barry. So I actually get asked pretty often on the other YouTube channel for our brand, sirlinksalot.co, if people should be disavowing. See if I search our channel over here just for disavow, I've got all these videos popping up. But haven't talked about it on the new channel yet, so let's get into it. And also go ahead and give the video a like and give me a sub if you're enjoying the content. So one of the main reasons we usually tell people not to disavow is that they look at SEMrush's toxicity score and they think that based on that they should be disavowing a bunch of links. And a lot more people are using SEMrush these days just because Ahrefs prices keep going up. I'm not using it myself yet, but I have seen the toxicity score and it's not something you can ever really recommend you disavowing links using. It just doesn't seem like a good judge of toxicity, and I've seen it recommend some pretty good links that end up costing you a lot of money to disavow. So definitely would not be using this. And like I mentioned, these mistakes can be insanely costly. Link building can be one of the most expensive parts of SEO. I've got a link building over here at sirlinksalot.co. In our managed link building program, people can spend anywhere from $500 a month to, thousands of dollars a month. And so if you don't really know what you're doing and you get in there and you start disavowing links, you might end up costing yourself a lot of money, just basically throwing money in the trash, right? So in most cases, we just advise people to diversify their way out of it. And what I mean by that is instead of disavowing the bad links, you just start building a bunch of new good links. So if anchor text was your problem, you had a bunch of spammy anchors or you got too aggressive with your anchor text, you could start building a bunch of good links with more natural anchor text like branded anchors, generic anchors, URL anchors. And usually when we're doing this, we use guest posts or link insertions. You could use other stuff like press releases if you wanted to, or some pillow links or diversity links. But here I am on our link insertions page, and I really like using our low authority barrage niche edits, which are right here. They end up only costing about $25 to $30 per link, depending on how many you buy. So they're low authority, yes, but they don't cost very much, and you can kind of build up your amount of good backlinks going to the website with natural anchor text rather than having this lopsided scenario where you have too many bad links and not enough good links. However, sometimes my answer to disavows will be yes. But if you don't know what you're doing, I would still say you should hire an expert. Just know that hiring an expert for this kind of thing and to do it actually well can end up costing you a lot of money. Especially if you have a very large backlink profile with thousands and thousands of links and you really need someone to go in there and audit things. I think you can see that'd be a pretty time-intensive task. And some things you could disavow could be obvious spam. For example, something like this over here on Sir Links a Lot. Just looks like a spam.blog comment page. But did we disavow it? No, we didn't. And in most cases, if you have a strong backlink profile like us, these kind of things don't really affect you too much. Next up, you can consider disavowing negative SEO. Again, over here on Sir Links a Lot, you can see we got negative SEO'd by someone and they sent some pretty nasty anchor text that I'm not going to read. So again, could you disavow this stuff? Yes, you could. Did we disavow it? No, we didn't, and we're doing just fine. And lastly, manual penalties. If you go into your Google Search Console and they're saying you have a manual penalty for unnatural link building, which will look something like this in your Search Console, then of course you're going to want to disavow some stuff and try to submit a reconsideration request to see if Google will lift that penalty from your site. But I really don't see many of these things at all lately, and honestly, I don't think I've seen one of these in about 5 years or so at this point. And honestly, I've heard of people still getting them that haven't built a single backlink to their sites themselves. One of the famous cases, I think, was Niche Site Lady on Twitter. She's not a link builder at all, and she ended up getting an unnatural link building penalty, which kind of funny, but also sucks for her, right? I'll just add one more thing about obvious spam. When I'm talking about spam, I normally mean stuff that is obvious spam. It'll look auto-generated, it'll be a bunch of gibberish, maybe the words won't make sense, lack of punctuation, maybe foreign language, large amounts of links coming in at the same time. They're all going to look kind of similar as far as the URL structure and the titles. This is the stuff I'm talking about disavowing as far as spam goes, unless you are an expert and you actually know what you're looking at, and there's some other stuff that doesn't really fit this mold but could still be considered toxic and harmful to your site. So in most cases, my answer for most people is still no, but the answer can definitely be yes at some point. And I'll add just one more thing here at the bottom, and that would be to disavow as an extreme last resort. So let's say you tried everything else and you've looked at your backlink profile and you're very, very, very sure that links are the problem here. And maybe you've consulted with someone if you're not an expert and they're saying, yeah, this looks kind of like links are your problem. Then I think disavows could be a good option as well. But like I was saying before, because disavowing could be a very costly mistake if you end up disavowing stuff that's actually helping you. And I've even seen some pretty spammy stuff, some pretty ugly backlinks that end up helping you and not hurting you. Yeah, just consider this stuff as a very last resort. And lastly, let's talk about the dreaded k.html link blast going around and what you should be doing. So these links were actually brought to my attention by one of our team members, one of the guys who's on our managed link building team over here. It's our done for you service. And he noticed a lot of these k.html links on some client sites. And I believe he had also seen Clint Butler talking about it. Here's Clint's YouTube channel over here. And I believe he had seen Grindstone talking about it on Twitter as well. And if we use the search operator over here and we search for Twitter only for k.html links, you can see that there's quite a bit of conversation on Twitter going on about these things. And the same thing over here on Black Hat World as well. And even going into our own site, sirlinksalot.co over on Ahrefs and entering k.html over here, you can see that our site even has about 21 of these things. We haven't disavowed them, and 21 is honestly a pretty low number compared to some of the other sites that are getting a lot of them. But just so you can see what they look like, we got foreign language, we got stuff that just doesn't really make sense, and each one ends with k.h at the very end. And normally I wouldn't disavow this stuff. Normally I would just consider this obvious spam, and just because of its very simple footprint, I would normally say this is something that I think Google would just ignore. And Google has gotten a lot better at just ignoring a lot of stuff. Like they don't even really penalize that much. They still do penalize sometimes, but I feel like for most cases, they just ignore bad links and they count the good links. However, it's not always true. And these links are also kind of weird, but yeah, like I said, looks like obvious spam, ends in k.html, and they're always linking to images for whatever reason. So I believe Clint and Grindstone are both proponents of disavowing these things. Of course, Grindstone was very upset when he saw this article about Google removing the disavow feature as well. And he had another post I saw earlier where he said he was disavowing some stuff, and I think he was going to post results later. And also last night, I had a friend that I met at the SEO conference in Vietnam recently send me this message saying that he disavowed a bunch of k.html links and he's already seeing a little bump from it. And his advice was to actually not use Ahrefs because Ahrefs didn't show most of them and to use SEMrush instead. Why is that happening? I'm not really sure. It could be that Ahrefs just doesn't see them as important, so it's not showing them. So SEMrush might actually be the better option because at least it will show you all of them and then you could disavow them in a big list. So am I going to be disavowing these from Sir Links a lot? I don't think so. However, if you start really having large ranking drops and you've got a bunch of these things, I would say that it could be an option for sure. And honestly, I'm just really surprised that this kind of thing is even working and that Google's not ignoring them, but it is what it is, right? So yeah, we kind of debunked the idea that Google will be removing their disavow tool. Doesn't look like it's planned or will happen anytime soon. We talked about some reasons why you might not want to disavow links, and we talked about some reasons why you might actually want to. And then of course the dreaded k.h links that are going around right now. So that's it for now, guys. If you like the content, go ahead and give me a like and a sub, and you can follow me over on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn as well, as I'm just starting to grow on these channels. All right, bye-bye. See you next time.